All right. Should all be set to go. So, hey folks. My name is Jonathan Slippin' Sand, and I'm luckily enough to host an event with Adam here from Stardock.
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for doing some streaming and having me on, man.
Yeah, hopefully we have a good game here and post some good questions for you. So let's get all started. So first off, for the folks that are just kind of checking in and watching this out, we have a lot of streamers coming from different areas. So just to explain what Galactic Civilization is, Galactic Civilization is a strategy 4X game, space-based. It comes from a history of Galactic Civilization 2, which was one of the most awarded strategy games ever in history. Great game, played it for years, and sadly it did not have multiplayer though, and Galactic Civilization 3 does! So that's a huge thing to help us out with a game that'll be fun to play with other folks. So it releases, like, when's the date of this, Adam? When does it release?
Thursday
Thursday.
year.
Nice. Thursday. Great. Alright, so
Thursday this year. Thursday this week. It is also this year, I suppose, but no, May 14th.
Okay. And also, just for whatever reason, I think you're a little bit more quieter than you were before.
That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, there's some guys in the chat saying that your voice is real loud.
Okay, let me do something then real quick. I'll mess with that.
Question in Stardock chat, because we're hosting you on Stardock as well.
Okay, great.
Got any sneak peek on the launch weekend ship parts? I do.
Ooh.
We actually just posted that today. Everybody who buys Galciv between now, anybody who has bought or buys between now and the launch weekend is gets a free ship pack or ship part DLC, which has like exclusive ship parts that you can use in the ship designer, which is cool.
Awesome. And I gotta say, I love the new pictures for the new race. The Design a Civilization competition winner, that was really cool.
Oh yeah, the Orphica Enclave. I love that guy. I love just that race. It's a really neat creative.
Yep.
Piece there.
All right, so let's get this started. So I'm going to start a game. Obviously, you pick your civilization when you start out. But one of the things is you can create custom races. I have made one here. It was kind of fun. The Salt Factory group. It was a lot of fun on Switch. But I'm going to just start off with just humans to start off. And let's get started with a basic planet. We're going to do small. I'm going to add in some AI. I got to say, I think a lot of people in chat were saying it too. I think disabled tech trading should be on by default. Just saying.
Yeah, it can get pretty out of control. I mean, like, you definitely need tech trading. I mean, some people really love it, right? But it can get. I mean, it's kind of a do or die, unfortunately. But I mean, it's certainly the. I mean, defaults are defaults. I don't know.
Yeah.
Do you feel like it's a newbie trap? Because that's what really defaults are about. Like, is tech trading a newbie trap or not?
I think it's something where, I guess the newer players may not understand the impact of that, right? Like, I think as it moves forward later in the game, when people learn more about the game, they might wonder why certain things are happening. I don't know. It just seems like it's generally a mechanic. Well, for multiplayer, definitely would be disabled. But I think that from a single player aspect, it's probably safe to say it would be good to disable. I don't know. I don't know if there's strategies for people to trade techs. I don't know.
Interesting.
All right, so I started out with a basic planet here, and Earth, obviously. I've got colony ship and a surveyor ship and a scout to start off. So this is kind of just basic introduction to the game, guys. I'm going to start exploring, looking around. It's a huge map. This is a small map. What was the number? There's like, you can have 1,000 AI in the insane size one or something crazy.
You can add up to like 100 players to the game. It's people saying they can't hear me talking, so apparently I'm coming through real quiet.
Yeah, let me. Here, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn up TeamSpeak. Let's do that.
That might be your best shot because I don't think I can turn up my mic anymore on my end.
Say playback, voice adjustment. All right, say something now.
Hello. Yeah, I can turn it up a little bit more on my end.
Yeah, just on your stream slipping, you come through much louder than he does.
All right.
Okay. All right. Let's let me see if I move my mic away a little bit. It'll be better. All right. Let us keep note if there's any issues.
Faux show. So anyway, so you can add up to like 100 AI races to the game, and because the game will handle it, it's just a matter of like, is it going to be fun, right? So like, we don't have it in as like a default, but and you can't do it in multiplayer. Like multiplayer, it's that level of chaos just ends up with like some desyncs and stuff. So that doesn't work super great. But for single player, you can do some pretty crazy things for sure.
Oh yeah, so one of the questions I just saw too was I was checking out for the audio stuff. Mods can be added, but do mods work in multiplayer right now?
No, it's disabled for multiplayer currently. There's a lot of multiplayer is in a very kind of 1.0 state right now, right? Like we're just making sure that it works, making sure that it gets the attention that it needs, and that it's all stable and good, and then we're going to add on to it over time.
Oh, that sounds good. I mean, just as you know, that the Civ community has kind of brought new life into it through modding, and I think it's a huge thing that allows us to kind of keep a game going. I say one of the things though about it is that Stardock's really great about listening to changes and putting in new fixes. So having people, listen to the community and such is a big difference compared to most other games, which is great.
Okay. People saying you're still way louder, by the way.
Okay, I'm gonna do one last thing. I'm gonna try to mess with this.
If you turn the game sound off, probably, and the game music off, and then are you using XSplit to broadcast?
OBS.
Okay, I'm only familiar with XSplit, but if you turn the the other sound up rather than just your own sound or like your microphone sound, hopefully that'll take care of it.
All right. How about now? Is that better? Am I sounding quieter?
I mean, you still sound fine to me, but I'm on TeamSpeak.
Yeah.
But hopefully it's fixed. We'll proceed and hope that it's fixed, and if people let us know in the chat. So yeah. Questions: will custom factions be added for multiplayer on release?
It's
not
much
for
better
release.
now. It's much more equal on the stream.
Okay.
Okay,
cool.
sweet. Yeah, chat says it's better too. So cool. All
Great.
right. Yay! Live debugging. That's what I always call it. But yeah, so will custom factions be added for multiplayer on release? Not on release. It'll be added in over time. Hopefully, I mean sooner than later. Like this, it's really was the matter of we just needed to get multiplayer in a good spot because like we're gonna have orders of magnitude more people playing multiplayer on release than we have previously, and so like
yeah.
we just don't want to have. The last thing we want to have is to go out and release and everything's great and then nobody can play multiplayer because everything implodes. So that's just the kind of reality of that.
So what I've been kind of doing to just kind of start out, I picked like some basic text, right, to get started. I always feel that production is important early, right? But I'm still learning a lot of what the balance of this game is like. So there's a little bit of a learning curve to figure out what's the best for the multiplayer community. But I think it's going to be great to try to figure these things out.
Yeah. No, I mean, the thing about Galciv for me is that, especially if you're coming from Civ, because like everybody comes from Civ, right? Because it's the godfather of the genre, and it's what everybody learned on, and all that kind of stuff. And there's definitely some things you need to figure out for that work really differently in Galciv, like star bases. Like star bases are super important.
Yeah. And
you need to have them. Like scouting is huge because the maps are so much bigger just in terms of tiles, right? That like in Civ it's really easy to scout, like for the most part, right? Unless you're at war. And so, but in Galciv, like you need to build scouts, and like what advanced players actually do is you make a cargo hull and you strap a bunch of sensors onto it, and then you have like this sensor boat that can see like 30 tiles out. And that it's actually kind of a hack, right? It's kind of it's a little overpowered right now, and that's something we're looking at balancing. That we'll probably I think Paul's leaning toward putting some diminishing returns on it, so that it's not quite as OP. But I mean that's the kind of thing that you need to deal with in Galciv, right? Yeah. And you need to deal with the idea that like manufacturing is only one aspect of your empire. Like in Civ, it's hammers. You need hammers. Yeah. Right, because hammers turned into more stuff. not necessarily the case in Gal Civ. Like specializing your planets into like research planets or money planets or influence. Not
Oh
really
yeah, I haven't even
influence, but,
shown
like,
that yet. So one of the
Yeah.
things about like governing. Okay, so I'll try to do a small little introduction to that.
Sorry, yeah, I can get talking and just.
No,
keep
no, no.
rolling.
Like, so what happens, right? You when you pick a planet, you can actually switch where you want your focus to go, right? So you can make it a wealth planet, a research planet, manufacturing planet. You can have it towards building things on the planet, towards building ships. There's a lot of ways to focus planets. I don't play with it too much in this because it's maybe just a little bit too much for the newer viewers, but it's something incredibly strong about, like, if you have a planet that has, you know, a research boost, or you have different buildings on that make it your like research or technical capital, then this is the way that you can basically you know, allow that to take off even more.
Yeah, and there's different milestones in Gal Civ in like the tech tree that matter a lot more, and because the tech tree is so much more open, right? Like in Civ, you kind of move through the tech tree, and once you get good at it, you have a really clear idea of what you're doing in the tech tree and what your goals are, right? In Gal Civ, that can change hugely from game to game because you can research a ton of engineering and be way behind in warfare, and that can be okay. You know, and so like you need to. It's just a different way of approaching the tech tree because you never research everything in Gal Civ because there's just way too much time. I mean, maybe on insane maps and
Yeah.
with super huge games you can, but generally speaking, for like a normal game, you wouldn't.
Yeah, so
And
even like
so-
an example, I just found a Ghost World, right? Which
Yeah.
has 50% research boost. Like the fact that I can focus that planet on research and it has a base of 50% research, like you can do some pretty crazy things there.
Yeah, and so it's also very different because in Civ you have a lot more. I guess it's a lot more flat bonuses. There's very few percentile bonuses in Civ. Like you get factories and it's like, oh my god, finally I got my 50%, you know, hammer bonus or whatever. And my numbers might be off because I haven't played Civ in forever. But
Yeah.
but then in Gal Civ, it's like you start out, you can build basic factories and they're 30%, which is a ton. And you put two of them next to each other and they each give each other +1, so they have +5%. And you can get, you know, immediately you're at like +80% manufacturing. Right, and so you have to kind of wrap your head around that, and how you
Yeah.
allocate your production in the govern window is a huge deal.
Now, one of the things too I wanted to ask about, we were talking about it a little bit before the stream started. What's the general effect? There is tourism in the game. We know about this from Civ that there's ways to win through tourism, but how does it play out in Galactic Civilization 3?
Yeah, so tourism isn't directly tied to any of the victory conditions in Gal Civ 3, although it plays very well with the influence conditions. So tourism is, like, each planet has a tourism income, and it's based on how much of the galaxy you control, like how much is inside your cultural borders. And so the bigger your cultural borders are, the better off you are in terms of tourism income. And then that's also plays into the influence victory condition. The influence victory is you have to control 75% of the galaxy inside your borders. So that dovetails nicely. But tourism, I mean, it's just an income boost in Gal Civ is basically what it is. So it's not, you're not building up tourism versus their culture or anything like you do in Civ 5.
Now, also, one other thing to kind of add into this, there is the ideologies, right? And this is a whole aspect of the game of picking between, you know, do you want to be benevolent, pragmatic, malevolent? Do you know if there's a lot of people that are mixing those? Like, it seems a lot of times when I play the game, I just focus on one of them. Like, in this one, I'm going to be going benevolent, right? And I want to get more benevolent, so I keep going that route. But is there, like, something to be said about mixing them?
There are people who like to do that. It's... Because part of it is like, man, there are some of the events are so much better for one than the other, right? Like some of them is like, oh my god, I have to choose pragmatic for this. It's so good. But then, like, do you want to, you know, give up your pure benevolent playthrough or whatever? And that's just a call that everybody has to make. Like, the idea is that it should be viable, right? What's going to be optimal is always going to change with balance, and it's always going to change with what the RNG is doing on, you know, on the map generation and how the everything's going. So, I mean, the idea is, I can't speak to the reality of it because I'm personally not as an advanced enough player. But certainly that's the intent. I gotta step off the stream for just a minute. Excuse me.
Sure. Oop. Now, one thing is just to, and even just kind of give an understanding of this a little bit, like, I'm trying to expand a little bit aggressively, so I built colony ships early on. There was a question about like why the money changed, right? I think it's 5,000 gold that you start off with. It seems a little crazy, but it allows you to kind of spiral out, which I think is a good idea for speeding up multiplayer games, because all of us know Civ games can take 8 hours sometimes. It's good to have a game that can actually go a little bit faster.
Yeah, well, the idea behind the starting credits is to give you something to frickin' do in those early turns, because so often in 4X games, you just don't have anything to do. Like, it's like, okay, I'm going to make my worker. All right. I'm going to chop some trees. Right? Like, it's just, especially because, like, scouting is one thing, and, you're sending your survey ship out to go, and you're avoiding pirates, and you're popping goody huts, the anomalies and stuff. But because Galciv turns kind of operate on a different scale than a lot of other 4X, like Civ, it's not necessarily...
Oh, I'm just short.
We didn't feel like there was enough going on there, and we wanted to boost up the early game and let you start customizing your civilization right away. Right, so you're not like spending a bunch of time like kind of doing the same moves over and over for every game. I mean, you can immediately start buying factories. You can buy colony ships if you want to go for a rapid expansion. You can start cranking up. Man, I don't know.
Or you can lose your scout to pirates.
Or you can lose your scout to pirates. That's okay. I always end up like with a bunch of weird orphan scouts that are on automated Explorer. Because that I just forget to destroy, because I'm like, whatever, I don't care about your stupid scouts.
Yeah.
Because once you build the sensor boats, it kind of doesn't make any sense to have scouts anymore, because the sensor boats are so much better.
It also helps to just with like one question that Arvius had brought up yesterday was about like how the game in general, like in the span of a multiplayer game, you have a huge border to cover, and you have to have a way to see through all of it. But that's kind of where that sensor boat, or something of that effect of like the star bases with the perimeter scanners, those kind of things you need to have, because you just have such an open area to go into. Because it's unlike Civ, where you have choke points through land mass and that kind of stuff. There's a little bit more option to sneak things in.
Yes. And it's, we try to certainly add a little bit of complexity to the galactic map with the nebulas and with asteroids being a little bit more impactful on movement and that kind of stuff. But a space game is never going to be the same thing as a land-based game in terms of those natural borders of mountains and oceans and stuff like that. That's just, and it doesn't, I don't think it necessarily should be, right? Because it should feel different, because it is a space game, and you can be attacked from any direction.
I guess he's going to go all the way up here, guys. Well, I was hoping to forward expand much further out before the AI got me placed in, but it looks like I'll just get this last planet, and we'll start off with the beginnings.
Yeah, the AI, if the AI can do nothing else, it can certainly expand. And actually, the AI has gotten pretty good.
Oh,
like, it's crazy the amount of improvement that the AI has seen just in the last
a little bit more.
3 weeks.
Yeah.
And even from the last build to this build, and that's just a matter of like, we had one of our programmers that kind of built all the infrastructure for the AI to work, but then we just hadn't spent a lot of time on the values that it uses, and because the values a lot of them are actually held in plain like data files like XML, and so like it was really just Brad, who's our CEO and has always been the AI developer of Galciv, and he's the creator of Galciv. It was really just Brad sitting down and just banging on the AI, and there's some code aspects to it as well for sure, but really just banging on the AI for a couple weeks that makes all the difference.
Oh yeah. Now, how does here's a good question for you. So, wormholes, how does it actually work with the range of the ships, right? So, I just had a ship show up on the other side of the galaxy. How does how does it determine what his range is from that point?
So your range is based on each ship has a range, and it's listed in tiles, and that's how far from a friendly planet or a starbase you can go. Except that it's not necessarily how you can go; it's where you can give a move order to.
Ah, okay.
So you can give your guy in a wormhole a move order to anywhere within his range, and then he'll just pathfind his way back to that range. Is how it works. So he's not actually stranded out in the deep.
So So then,
Go
okay,
ahead.
so here's a good question too. I have the AI just place a starbase to mine where I wanted to. How does it determine who gets to mine it? You know, after if I set up a base within the same perimeter, is it whoever got there first, and then I have to destroy that starbase?
I believe it's whoever got there first. I actually don't know the answer to that question. We'll save that one for Paul when he comes by a little bit later.
1, 2.
Oh man, we got a question in the chat, or a comment that random opponents would be a nice option. A lot of people have been asking for just at random to game setup, and that's definitely a lot of people have been asking for it. We definitely want to do it, and it's just a matter of that's going to be a free patch feature, you know, post launch.
I did notice that there was one thing I caught yesterday. This is just a random little bug, but like if there's a basic factory that's rushed for the humans, like if I cancel this, I don't get the first human bonus still. So it kind of like is one of those. You better make sure you're building the right thing first, or you might lose your benefit.
Yeah, that's one of those edge case known issues that like we have to build a new window for it, and it's like, you know, it's one of those things where because that bonus for humans only came in like beta 5.
Yeah.
Or one of the later betas anyway. I think it was beta 5 off the top of my head. And so
what I'm gonna do,
like we just didn't, you know, we didn't have the UI designer tasked out to like build this weird one-off window for the Terrans.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a known issue, and it's a post-launch fix.
Oh yeah, it's nothing that huge.
Yeah. There's also like I think right now there's no confirmation on destroy planet. So like you can misclick and destroy one of your like major colonies. Like, don't do that.
Yeah, I've done that once.
We got an answer out of chat, which I am inclined to believe that whoever gets there first gets the resources. There is no sharing. So there you go. That makes more sense. So I think it's about time to do a giveaway. What do you think?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do a giveaway. All right. I'm actually going to do this one. We'll do it in your chat. We'll do Slipping Sand chat first. So if you're in the Stardock chat or in the Filthy Robot chat, head over to the Slipping Sand chat, give them a follow, and we're gonna have a keyword. The keyword is gonna be Slipping Sand FTW.
Woo! Let's hopefully I win.
And you're gonna type that in the chat, and you're gonna be entered into a random draw. And in a couple minutes, I'm going to roll it, and somebody's going to win. I put that message in the wrong chat. I got 3 freaking Twitch windows open.
Oh, this is interesting. So I just placed a starbase next to resources, right? And somebody had said it's whoever gets there first. I just took it from him. So for whatever reason,
you did.
I did take it from him.
Oh, weird.
I didn't think I'd get the thulium, but it switched from him to me. So I don't know why.
Very nice. Must be in Slipping Sand chat.
Woo.
Just a reminder for everyone, if you're putting that in the Stardock chat or the Filthy Robot chat, you're not going to be entered into the giveaway. It's always fun for our partners like Slipping Sand to be able to see their chat filled up with
oh yeah. It's a lot of fun.
So, yeah, no, it's cool. Giveaways are fun. We like helping people out. So people are still typing it in Stardock chat.
Nice.
I'm just gonna put the link in Stardock chat. So.
All right, so guys, I'm just kind of give you guys kind of an explanation of what my plan is at the moment. To get to the ability to invade other players, you have to hit the second age, the age of war, right? And that requires that you get 12 techs. So I need to get to 12 techs before I can get invasion. So I'm kind of just learning all the basics, learning the different first tier stuff in different areas with the idea that I will quickly invade somebody as soon as possible.
Nice.
I'm benevolent, but it's a little bit different of a benevolent.
We actually had some questions in the chat earlier. Do you want to go through what your game setup is? Like what your settings are here?
Oh, yeah. Like, you mean just like resolution and all that kind of stuff? Or
No, like what your map settings, game pace.
Oh, yeah. So I'm playing on small. I added in some other civs. So I'm on very fast, though. For all the guys that play multiplayer out there, you know, the idea is hopefully that we can have games that don't take all day. So they added, thankfully, a very fast setting so that we can play this and kind of enjoy a quick game. And yeah, it's just I think it's on loose clusters, yeah, because the map seems a little bit spread out. you can see from the little dots on the map that those are actually the systems, so that's where the planets are going to be at. So there's kind of an empty area near the bottom, and it looks like I'm right in the thick of these guys.
Nice.
I already see a few civs right on my borders, so adding a lot of people on a small map adds for a lot of fun, so we'll see some action soon.
Very cool. The hosting thing has everyone confused because nobody understands. And to be fair, like I had to go like 15 rounds to understand that if you're in, like when we're hosting you, like Stardock is hosting Slipping Sand, and like Filthy Robot is hosting Slipping Sand. So like you see the video. If you go to like twitch.tv/Stardock, you see the video, but you're in the Stardock chat.
Yep.
So you have to go into the Slipping Sand chat because I'm running the giveaway out of the Slipping Sand chat. So go there instead.
Yeah, and while you're there, you know, feel free to follow. Shameless plug.
Absolutely. Give them a follow. You know, these guys play a lot more, you know, multiplayer and competitive stuff. You know, 4X. Civ primarily has kind of been your jam for a while, right?
Yeah, definitely. Like I have some other new toys like an Oculus Rift, so they might see a demo every once in a while. Some fun new demos there. I'm hoping to get the Valkyrie game soon for that too. But definitely, the majority of what I stream is competitive Civ. And when I say competitive Civ, there's a group called No Quitters that basically tries to make sure that people stick it out through a game and play it to the end. And it's a great community. So Filthy Robot, who's here in chat with us and hosting, and then there's Arvius as well, are kind of the main streamers behind this. And there's, you know, a lot of people that love and watching them play there. It's a lot of fun to see the salt flow.
Very cool. I just basically lost my multiplayer Age of Wonders game last night, which I was pretty annoyed by.
There you go.
But yeah, Age of Wonders gets really brutal in the early game if you're playing a small map. It's great.
Oh yeah. Oh, you know what? One thing I was going to say too. It's kind of interesting. So I wanted to see if it would happen this game. Because it should happen soon. But if you notice, I haven't colonized Mars, right? So the humans start with 2 planets that you can plant on. And I specifically haven't done this because last time what happened is if I just left it for a little bit, the AI will actually attempt to plant there. So like they'll colonize that planet. Even though it's far within my borders, and then usually they have some riots and it flips and I get a free planet. So it's kind of a fun way to, you know, AI's a little dumb about that where they'll plant somewhere and then you can just, you know, take it later.
Nice. Well, I got a warning from your bot for typing about my giveaway in all caps. So I apologize for that.
Yeah, I think I have all caps giveaway lock or something like that. Let me see if I can remember that real quick.
No, it's all good. All right, but yeah, so giveaway Apostle Joe. Congratulations, you win an Elite Founders Key. Apostle Joe.
Ah, nice. Good job, man.
Very cool. So the Elite Founders Key, if you don't know, it's not for sale anymore. You can't get it, but it's everything we ever released for Galciv for free. So it's like every DLC, every expansion, and we have a long plan for Galciv. So you'll get a ton of stuff out of it.
All right, just building some factories, guys. Can I buy this? No, I'm still broke. I gotta say, what yesterday was kind of interesting too is Arvius played a lot with messing with the governance, right? And he wanted to see if you could play a game with no wealth. He made it fairly far, but it was kind of interesting to see somebody like basically turn wealth off in every single planet and just play without buying stuff, and how long he could make it. It's an interesting mechanic where if you basically go negative in gold, everything shuts down. Like you can't produce anything, you can't research anything, you can't do anything. And it basically says, yeah, you need to get out of debt. So I thought it was pretty funny to see that in action.
Nice. Very nice. Yeah, it's interesting. Like it's very interesting to me just as a player because like I played a ton of Civ 5, right? To go back to having the slider because like Civ always had, you know, the research slider, right? And I got so used to not having it in Civ 5 because I played a ton of Civ 5.
I'm gonna try to get.
And it's getting back into that mindset is it really fundamentally changes the way you play 4X. And because there's no penalty for moving it around, and you have a lot more leeway in Galciv because you're not dealing with like a binding happiness mechanic or anything like that. And your planets can specialize so much further. Like there's a lot more interesting decisions that you can kind of make around that. It's much more central to the way your empire works.
Now here's a question: the Starbase upgrades that give like the percentage boosts. Do you know, like, if that's a valuable strategy to go for long term? Because it seems a lot of hammers. Wow, Civ. A lot of production that you have to put into, you know, make these constructors, but then giving a percentage bonus to certain planets. I guess it could kind of even out after time.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good. One of the tricks that I always do is I always make a new constructor without the life support modules. So its range sucks. Its range is only whatever your natural range is for your Civ, but it's rare that I actually want to push out a starbase and build it somewhere far off. And so if you strip all the life support off, it's a lot cheaper to build that constructor. I mean, it's like 30% cheaper or something. So that can help a lot.
Gotcha. Now, here's one of the questions. I got the trade screen open. The super I want to eat you alive race wants something from me, but the trade resources, like he's got the snuggler colony, right? The little Furbies that you can trade and different things you can trade. Is that exactly how the tourism mechanic works? Like, what's the effect of trading those generally?
So each of them have an effect. So if you go to the that's a terrible deal, by the way. Do not give him that.
Yeah, no way. I'll give him that.
Unless, or wait, is that you giving him $75 for Durantium for 50
Oh yeah,
turns?
wait, hold on, that's the flip. Yeah, I'll do that.
Oh yeah, hook that up. Durantium's great because you can make getting the prototype ships out early is huge.
Yeah.
When your logistics counts are really low, because they have like something like 4 times the firepower of like the basic, and so you're able to, because your logistics counts are low, it means your fleets can't be very big. Yeah. And what that means is like you're concentrating so much more power into your fleets. It gives you a massive advantage early. So yeah, you should absolutely trade for the Durantium early on, and then make sure that you research the thing that you need for whatever the Durantium weapon is, which I believe is a cannon.
It's mass drivers, right? Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I've got a prototype ship pumping out in 5 turns, so it'll be something nice to roam around with. Get rid of these pirates that are harassing me on the bottom.
There you go. I was gonna bring something up. Oh, chat says starbases are totally OP. You can have like 6 econ starbases per planet. With like if you space Muron perfectly, you can get 6 of them. Apparently,
nice.
which is absurd.
Yes.
Because, and starbases do cost maintenance, so it's not. But I mean, the econ starbases, you can certainly make that maintenance back.
Yeah, definitely.
What difficulty are you? You're playing on normal, right?
I believe this is on normal. Yes.
Okay. All right. Sweet. I was gonna make the point about the trade resources. So if you go on your govern screen and click over to one of the tabs.
Wait, say this again. What screen?
The govern screen. So up in the upper left, the govern button.
Yep. Wait, hold on. I just gotta. We have to decide who wins the World Congress.
Oh, indeed.
The United Planet Chair. Hopefully, everybody likes humans. So. And I win. Woo.
Nice.
All right. So planet govern screen.
Okay, so go to the govern screen.
Yep.
And then it's one of the tabs there. I'm actually only watching on the stream, so I'm on the stream delay.
Oh, wait a minute. Different govern screen. I was on the planet govern screen.
Yeah, you want the global one.
Yep. Okay, yeah. And then there's
it's kind
trade.
of unfortunate that those things are named the same thing.
No, that's trade. Is there anything else? Trade.
But there's one that lists out your resources. And so, like, the snuggler colony, if I remember correctly, is like +1 morale. And each of them do different things. Like Prometheon, I think, is like +5% movement, which is a minimum of +1, which is huge. So this screen is super powerful, by the way. You should totally use this screen a lot for all the macro stuff. Like commands can be really nice. That's how, like, for like.
I did not even know that you could do the economy switch for all your planets from here. Like, that makes it a lot more like, okay, I'll start using that a lot better.
It's super helpful, and like you can do. And in the planetary government screen, you can then there's a checkbox for putting them back on your global settings. So you can easily flip them on and off. It makes a big difference.
All right, so here's a good one to ask you about. So I have a missionary center, right, that I'm placing out, and it gives influence growth. If I place it on a, Ancient Wonder, which has the little arrow that says you get +3 to influence on that, will that affect that directly?
Yeah, so it makes your missionary center more effective. So you can see the level. If you mouse over it, you get the tooltip, and under its base stats,
it says
says
level
level
3.
3
Gotcha.
influence growth plus 15%. So it's most of the stuff is like plus 5% per level.
Gotcha.
But
okay.
but obviously it can get pretty powerful. You know, obviously with your factories in that nice little triangle there, that's huge.
Oh yeah,
You know,
yeah.
you're
I've learned
getting-
that like the the honeycomb strategy of making sure if you have your technical or technological capital, you need to have that in the center of a bunch of research centers and all that kind of stuff. So
Yes, yeah, for sure. Yeah, the capitals are huge if you can get those on good planets. That's like it's like a third or fourth tier engineering tech that unlocks the third tier. I think it unlocks the third tier building, so it's like mega factories and super research labs, whatever the hell they're called.
Yeah.
and then you have a civilization achievement
I don't
that's
want
like manufacturing capital or technical capital or technological capital. So you can only have one in your whole faction, in your whole civilization, but it's just crazy massive bonuses to that world.
Yeah.
And huge adjacency too. So if you can drop it in the middle of a nice honeycomb, you can get some pretty absurd bonuses.
Now there's also something to explain kind of about how population works, right? So
Yeah.
the number with population, right? There was a question for is why do I want more population? And to my understanding, this is how it works. The population is kind of like the base value that is used for your production, your resource, your income, etc. And a lot of the buildings, there are some that give flat bonuses, but the majority of the buildings are percentage bonuses. So you have a bunch of factories that give you a percentage bonus towards that. So you want more people to work in the factories to get a higher bonus, right?
Yes. So the way that the economy works is because you're not working tiles like you do in Civ, right? Your population produces X. If you have X population, you produce X production. And that production is then allocated through the govern window, through that production wheel. That allocation then goes to research. Is there actually a formula to it? Ilauna is saying that there's a formula to it in the Stardock chat, and I tend to believe the players.
Oh yeah, they know.
My own recollection.
They don't.
Well, and it's also like when I wrote my Econ 101 guide, it was like forever ago in like beta 2 or something.
Yeah.
So anyway, so there's a formula. So your your population produces production. The production is allocated to research, wealth, and manufacturing. And then those numbers are modified by whatever the percentage bonuses you have from your buildings, from your native Civ bonuses, from any planetary bonuses, from any like econ star bases, any of that. And then your manufacturing is further split between
commerce,
social and military. And so military is whatever it's sending out to the shipyard that it's associated with, and social is for building its own improvements or running its planetary project if you're on like cultural festival or something like that. So one of the important things also to note on the tourism tip, because we were talking about that earlier, you actually have to research the interstellar tourism tech before you start getting that income. So that's one that I like to not necessarily rush, but to prioritize early, because that can be a really nice income boost early on in the game and let you allocate your production back over to research and whatever the other thing I just said was, manufacturing.
Yeah.
So interstellar tourism, very important. Had a question out of Stardock chat. How come the research timeline at the bottom of the tree progresses so quickly in contrast to the number of techs researched? That's strictly just how long it takes to advance to the next age. And so because in Galciv you're never going to research all the techs except for on like crazy huge maps.
Yeah.
The reality is that you're only gonna. I think the number is set right now to like 60% or 50% or something of the text in each age that you need to research to get to the next age, and all that age transition does is it just unlocks the next group. You just can't. It basically gates you to you can't totally go all the way down one path.
Which is good, right? You don't want somebody to just beeline straight for some sort of tech that's a little bit too strong, given if everybody else is kind of trying to be more balanced.
Yeah, and it a little bit helps it from being a total. It helps the newbie trap aspect of it too.
Yeah.
Because you do need to. I mean, you do need to spread yourself out to some extent, right?
Yep.
You need to make sure that you're not all warfare because you need infrastructure to build the warships and all that kind of stuff.
Like right now, I didn't pay attention to Xenocommerce for a while, so I have a lot of very unhappy planets. So I need to build some pleasure parks and some entertainment centers and get these people happy.
Sure. Oh, that's an interesting suggestion from Ecolis in the Stardock chat. He says the planet's surface screen really ought to show you your net bonuses to each item, manufacturing, research, income, so you can see what would be best to specialize in. That's not a bad idea. I mean, it's in the tooltip, so you can see it there. But the tooltip does go pretty deep down into what all those are. It would be kind of nice to have just that like flat, like manufacturing is at plus 75%, research is at plus 90. That's not a bad idea. I'm not in charge of the production schedule for the game, so I can't promise it. But I'll bring it up to the team.
Yeah, and we can always ask, Paul in a little while too.
Yeah, Paul should be here in about half an hour to take some questions and do some chatting and all that kind of stuff. So, should be cool.
All right, so my general plan is coming to fruition. I have one more tech until I can learn planetary invasion, and then I'm going to take these Durantanium, ships over to Iridia, and I'm just going to flat out make a war and kill somebody.
Nice.
Let's get some action going.
Have you gotten invasion yet?
It's going to be my next tech, right? Starting now.
Okay, nice. Because I again, coming from Civ, it's very easy to forget that. And unlike like in Master of Orion, you could just sail your fleet over there and bombard the planet and hose them that way.
Yeah.
And we don't have that, right? We do have planetary bombardment, but it's always in the context of an invasion.
Yes, and it takes also there are like death ray type weapons, though, right? Later on that you can like shoot planets and all that.
That's actually either an expansion or a DLC feature. I don't remember which.
Ah, okay.
So it's something that was in Galciv 2. But is not sufficiently developed, and we want to do something cool with it.
You know what?
And make sure it's balanced and all that, because obviously we have multiplayer now, so we need to be a little bit more proactive on the balance tip. So
yeah, I'm hoping that once this gets started on Thursday, that we can start definitely streaming this as a group and start having more multiplayer games, and we'll be able to give you a slew of feedback like really quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and that kind of stuff is huge. And you talked about modding before. It was actually, I think it was when we were offline, we were kind of coordinating the stream. You talked about how the No Quitters group has kind of developed this one of the really big Civ 5 mods that a ton of people have downloaded and played, and it's just balanced and everything. That kind of balance stuff. Now, to be fair, it's disabled for multiplayer right now. I understand, but it's coming. Yeah. And that kind of balance stuff is really easy to change in Galciv. Like, so much of the game is data driven, meaning it just lives in an XML file. And so you can just go in and change those numbers super easily. It's very easy to do, and so we fully expect that people are going to be dropping, balance mods and such all over the place very quickly.
Great.
So,
all right, what should I decide on my? I'm now the leader of the known world.
Nice.
I don't want peace because I'm about to go kill somebody. So. Let's have whoever's rich give everybody else money. Space commies.
There you go. Yeah, because your cash infrastructure is probably not great.
Yeah, non-existent, but nobody passed it, so.
Yeah, the UP is definitely one of those things where it's pretty bare bones right now. Like, the presentation of it's nice, but the interaction of it is kind of only okay. And it's very bare, right? There's no there's a lot of stuff where it's like we want to be able to bargain about votes and do all kinds of stuff with diplomacy around it. And that's actually, I believe the plan right now that Brad has actually said is that's going to get its own. There's going to be a whole expansion focused around PvP, diplomacy,
so
and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think that just the fact that you guys make so quick changes and turnaround stuff is going to be huge for making this viable multiplayer.
That's the hope. I mean, the idea, the reason we built the game the way that we did was to make it easy to mod. But a side effect of that is that it makes it a lot easier for us to go in and do balance changes and fix that kind of stuff. Change AI priorities. Give the AI different behaviors. Well, not necessarily different behaviors, but have it weight different behaviors differently, and stuff like that. So it's. And we play it on Galciv for Stardock is Galciv 3. I mean, this is kind of the company-defining product. You know what I mean? We're going to be making Galciv for a very long time.
Good.
I've seen the schedule, and it goes out quite a ways.
Good. Hey, I mean, with the success of Galactic Civilization 2, right? I mean, that was one of the best, hands down. I'm pimping this out. I played that for years, so to see this like come back and have multiplayer is like a dream for a lot of folks. So to see it come back in full stride, very very happy about.
Nice. Yeah. No. Thank you. Yeah. I mean, Gal Civ 2 is a huge thing, and I mean it's. Like we love it and players love it, and it was one of the biggest struggles with Gal Civ 3 was
just do some basics
making it new enough but still retaining what was good about Gal Civ 2, because I mean we would be idiots to throw that away, right, and do something crazy, radical, and different. And I feel like my previous life was as a game critic. I feel like we've hit a pretty decent
BD
balance there. Now obviously my opinion is a little biased, so I'll just leave it at that. But in my opinion, I think it's pretty decent. A big thing for me is all the UI stuff.
Yeah.
Having the govern screen, having commands. Governors are a post-launch patch thing for doing automated planetary production and stuff. That's huge.
Is there a maximum amount of planets that you can, or ships that you can keep at a planet? Because it seems kind of hard sometimes to invade people that have a lot of ships in there. Is there a cap?
Oh man, that is a question that I do not have the answer to. I bet somebody in chat has it though. Truth be told, I don't tend to play very warlike in Gal Civ, which is very different from the way I play most other 4Xs. I'm usually the suicidally aggressive one. But in Gal Civ, I tend not to be, just because there's so much other stuff to do. So I don't have 60 logistics. Okay.
Oh, you know what? Yeah, I just saw it. Defending fleet 60. Okay. Does that go up with your logistics skills? Another question the chat might answer.
Yeah, so logistics are definitely a huge thing to upgrade.
I never knew that.
Player.
So when you have a transport and you land it on a ship, when you leave again, you can decide again how many people come out of it.
Yes, and if you dock a transport or a colony ship at a planet, those people go into the planetary production pool. So it's actually not that bad. Like you can make a colony ship and then just park it on the planet. The people will keep working, and so you don't take the econ hit until you have somewhere to send it, or transport for that matter.
All right, well I'm invading Iridia.
Nice.
Sadly, he's my neighbor. So
did you
goodbye.
declare yet?
What'd you say?
Did you declare on him yet?
No, I'll declare when I hit him.
It might. I'm not sure actually if it pops you out of his territory. I don't think it does.
No, like you can get right up close to somebody. Like if you sit anywhere, if this was more than 2 turns, the AI will start complaining. Like it'll give you, get out of my borders or we're declaring war, all that kind of stuff. But I mean, it's 2 turns for me to come in and do this.
All right,
kind of a surprise hit and run is the idea.
Excellent.
Now I gotta say the upgrades. I'm not gonna have it in time for this invasion, but the upgrades of like choosing to use biological weapons or information or planetary bombardment, like those make a huge difference in invasion.
Yes.
Like I almost feel that shouldn't be a spec. It should be like a separate tech. Like it's that much of a huge difference on invasion.
Oh, so you kind of want to be able to you'd rather it split off into different tags. Right?
Yeah,
instead of making you choose one.
Well, yeah, because like you always have to choose in the current one, right? You're only allowed to pick one of them, right? And it's kind of a, there's different cases you want to do different things. Like those abilities to kind of vary should be pretty set.
Oh, that's an interesting suggestion. I could see that. I could even see moving it off of the tech tree. Well, the thing about having it on the tech tree is that they can be better.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, like invasion gets really powerful really quickly. Putting it another, and that was actually one of the big movements or one of the big reasons behind the tech tree ages was literally to put planetary invasion in the Age of War and delay that a little bit so you can't go quite so super aggro and you really have to commit to it. So that's an interesting idea, though. It'd be easy to mod.
Yeah.
For sure. So, and that's one that will definitely have a lot of multiplayer implications. Because like where that planetary invasion tech is, how much the invasion tactics cost. Because like the tactics are amazing, but they cost 500 credits apiece, like for every invasion, which is a lot of money, especially early.
Oh, and somebody also brought this up. You can trade the techs for the different invasion types, but then we're all talking about disabling tech tree. So yeah. Now I'm just gonna do a battle here. I'm actually thinking that I may have selected beginner because this AI is like, you know, there's a scout
You may have
defending,
selected beginner.
so it might be the end of him pretty quickly.
It may indeed be. Although the Iridium don't tend to be very well defended, to be honest, unless they can really see it coming.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, this
I'm
is
taking the planet.
nice.
94% chance. That sounds like a good chance.
Yeah, I kind of
Boom!
like Planetary Invasion. It's not very interactive right now. You just kind of choose your tactics and how to
Yeah,
go.
there was actually a screen before, remember, where it showed like all the hexes and stuff. What was the reason
Yeah.
behind
Hey,
changing that? Oh yeah, what's
I'm
up,
kind
Philly?
of sitting quietly, just watching, because I don't have a lot of experience playing this game. I never played Galactic Civ 2, for example, so a lot of this is very new to me watching it. I've got some just general questions, talking with my chat a little bit about this. We actually kind of benefit. I'm not sure entirely if the design of the stream is just for anyone or if it's more for the kind of already existing fans. But if you're looking to kind of get new people interested in this, it'd be really helpful to have a little bit more of the basics talked about what's going on here.
Okay.
As we're seeing this right now on each screen that you're showing us, there's a ton of information on each screen, and it's a little overwhelming for those of us who don't know quite what's going on, what all of this is. So, for example, that battle you just had, did you have any manual control over that when you were watching it, or is that just basically I see you could quick battle. Is quick battle the same as the battle you just did, except you get to watch it? Is that the only difference between the two, or is there actual manual maneuvering? What was going on in that screen?
So I'll explain it. So there's no manual control actually in the combat that I know of, unless I'm missing something.
There is not.
There is not. But the key thing about watching the battle sometimes is you need to know how things play out because let me explain some stuff. So there are ship roles. So when you define a ship, and I'll actually go to that screen. It's on the shipyard. There we go. So on the ship they have a role. It's on the right side, ship role. Like this ship I'm looking at right here. It shows it's a support ship. They act differently in combat based off of the roles, and there's different mods that do all different kinds of things to your ships. Like I haven't shown the ship designer because that can get a little bit confusing for newer players. But what the idea is that you can change a lot of the all the different things that you put on your ships. If you just do quick battle, you're just going to see who won, and you don't really know how it played out. You don't know how ships are acting. Like if you see that he has a lot of ships that stay in the back and are, you're not getting there before he's killing you, like you have to get closer, so you need to put more engines on your ships. Or if you're seeing that he has a lot of defenses of a certain type, so you're not getting through with your attack. All that kind of stuff plays out in combat, so it's nice to see it sometimes to just kind of gauge what's going on. But then in general, yeah, once combat, everything's to the death. There's no fleeing currently in combat. The idea is that you're having two fleets go toe to toe and duke it out. So the quick battle is always going to be the same resolution no matter what, but it is valuable to actually see it so you can kind of gauge what's going on and change your tactics because so for new players again, so I'm going to mouse over this ship you can see. So in the bottom left you'll see it has different types of attacks. There's beams, which are the blue, there's missiles, which are the yellow, and then there's mass drivers, which are the red. They all work differently, they all have different bonuses, but basically it's a little bit rock, paper, scissors, where if you have a lot in one and somebody doesn't have the defense for it, you're going to get hurt a lot. So for example in this ship he's got a lot of missiles, but of 6 of value of missiles, but he doesn't have any defense for it. So if I built missile ships I can pretty much fire back at him and he won't be able to kill me if I have missile defense, for example. So you need to watch what people are building and watch the text that people focus on so that you can kind of make sure that you're able to fight back correctly, or you can get surprised as somebody does a big tech switch and you're not ready for it.
Talk to me a little bit about the expansion. So I see that you have things orbiting your planets as well as you're actually expanding 2 planets. So is this just like production bonuses, or is this in lieu of expanding to the planet, or is it both? Talk to me a little bit about that.
Okay. So right now, so I have all the viewable planets that I have that I can actually land on are landed on. So I don't have any new planets I can land on. The black circles are basically dead planets, right? I mean, I can't land on those. They're gas planets and that kind of stuff. But what is in space?
How do you tell habitable versus not habitable? It's just the black versus not black?
Yeah, there's dead planets. So like this one, for example, like Jupiter, you can't land on Jupiter. But if I move the screen over, you should be able to see that this is an aquatic planet, and this planet requires tech to land on because it's a water planet. It's basically water world, right? So I have to have specific techs to land on that planet. So there are cases where you need techs to unlock the ability to get new places, and that's one of the purposes of, you can't expand everywhere in the very first couple of turns. You have to kind of plan out longer term what you're going to do. The pieces that are flying out in space, so I'll zoom in some of these. So this one, for example, is a starbase. And starbases have an area of influence. That's the little dotted line that's showing up around it. And they can have all kinds of modules that affect things. Currently, I'm mining. So there's a little Duratanium. It's a special resource. And this special resource, this allows you to get special things. So in the top right of my screen, you're going to see all these little special resources. They're kind of like luxes. If you want to think in Civ terms, they're kind of like luxes that you want to have because they unlock special buildings or they unlock special upgrades that you can put up on your ships. And star bases are the way that you mine those. Other things that you can do is you can give them economic bonuses. So I'll go to that one. Let me find him. So on this starbase, for example, I have an economic ring, and what it's doing is giving me 10% bonus to all planets within range. And that's where he was talking before about, some of the tactics that people can do is you focus on building a lot of starbases and overlapping the rings so that you get a lot of bonuses that affect your planets to make them stronger. So the idea of the way of thinking about it, I guess, from a kind of Civ standpoint, is that the luxes are something you want to be able to mine because you want to get those valuable resources so you can use those to fight other people. Whereas also at the same time, star bases can affect your military, your influence, your economy, all kinds of things. So your ability to see other ships, I mean, everything, they can affect a lot of different aspects of your civilization. One thing also, just for newbies, because I see there's there was a question about it before. The little rings you're seeing of color, that's my area of influence. That's where I am currently able to define as my space. And the importance of that is a lot of things. One, kind of defines my borders of I'm going to be happy or not if they come into my space. It defines what resources I can plant on, all that kind of stuff. But there is culture, and that's what culture pushes out your borders, and you can actually push your borders over other people's planets and star bases, and you can start taking them. So for example, on the left side of the screen I have Valis, and Valis is a planet that's like 1 hex from the border. If I were to build a star base nearby, I could actually push that out and try to culture flip them. Basically, they start having riots, they go into rebellion, and then they become your planet. So
are there downsides to expanding?
Downside of expanding is there's approval problems, right? I think that come into this. Adam, you might know the specifics beyond that.
Yeah, there's a global variable that actually Paul just recently nerfed the hell out of, where you take an approval penalty to every planet for every planet that you expand to. It's just a flat value, but it's not very high, and so there's not a lot of reason not to expand as much as you can. It's really the downside is that it's more to
wow, did this guy kill my fleet?
To defend.
He did kill my fleet.
But it is, I mean, but it's going to be bonus. So some of the mechanics I've seen in other games, I'm thinking Civ right now, there's penalties to mass expanding. You have science increased costs or stuff like that across the. So none of that here. So it's basically there's going to be some happiness related mechanic. It sounds like approval, and that's it. Okay.
Yep, and approval honestly isn't as impactful as happiness in Civ traditionally is. I mean, it is impactful because it affects your growth is the biggest thing. It does affect also, I think, research and wealth, but
it doesn't even affect like your max population. Like the amount of people you're allowed is affected by your approval.
So like it's not nearly as bad as like going unhappy in Civ 5, for example. And honestly, that's very much by design because Gal Civ is about having giant freaking space empires. So and I mean it's not that you can't have an effective tall empire, tall in terms of the tall versus wide debate, right? Because you can stack a ton of modifiers, like we were talking about earlier with the capitals and star bases and stuff like that. You can stack a ton of modifiers on a few really highly developed planets and be very effective that way. It's just a matter of what you can afford the infrastructure for. Obviously, if you can have a wide empire that is also very highly developed, that's even better. But because you're making a lot of those tech choices that aren't necessarily they're a lot more meaningful than the tech choices that you make. Well, that sounds like I'm taking a shot at Civ, and I don't mean to because I love Civ. But I mean, which techs you pursue because you're not going to research everything, which techs you pursue is going to have a huge impact on how your empire develops, right? And so if you're going for stacking all those modifiers and having really powerful planets, you know, you're losing out on other aspects of the tech tree.
I'm going to pretend that was the question I was asking because it makes me sound like I really wanted an in-depth response to that. And I was really getting at the design of it. Really what I was basically asking is how does it work? Not so much what was the design thought process. So I appreciate the in-depth answer. I was asking a much more novice question.
Sorry, no,
no problem at all. It doesn't hurt at all to have it over-explained relative to the question. It's just kind of laughing at myself because I have such limited knowledge of how the game works that I just wanted to know specifically the mechanics of it. So Slipping, tell us a little bit about. I see you occasionally entering planet screens, and you already I saw you fast purchase a couple factories or something like that. There seems to be limited tiles in the factory screens, but there seems to be a ton of different information resources coming out of that. Talk to a little bit about that, if you would.
Yeah, so on the planet screen, right, so there's all the hexes that you're able to actually build upon.
Adam and Paul, I don't know if you guys know this, but you guys don't have push to talk on, so that we're getting a lot of the clicking and keyboard stuff coming through from time to time. I don't know if you guys are aware or not.
Oh, sorry about that. I'll try to calm my fingers down.
No worries. So actually on the planet screen, right? So you have separate hexes where you can build different upgrades, and these upgrades, affect all different kinds of aspects of the game. But one of the key things to know is your ability to place correctly allows for bonuses. So let me find that actual planet of like my home planet. So I'll go to Earth, right? So in Earth, if I click on this one, I have 3 factories next to each other. And factories, if I mouse over it, you'll see that they give, at the very bottom of that tooltip, it says +1 level to manufacturing. And that means that adjacent buildings get a bonus that do manufacturing. So if you build 3 in a row, right, then every single one of them is going to get a bonus. And that's kind of what we were talking about, is kind of like the power. You want to build these buildings right next to each other so that they give bonuses that overlap. And also with that in mind, like, you can rush things, so you can buy things out, kind of like, buying things straight out in Civ. Same kind of thing in this, where you can buy out buildings. So I'm broke at the moment, so I'm not going to be buying anything at all right now. But when I was starting out, I was buying out factories really early because.
Where do I even see your research totals? Your resource totals, rather. I see income at the bottom, I think, and I guess it's some sort of turn or. Right, imagine it's turn.
Yeah, so if I mouse over these, you'll see these totals. So there's manufacturing, there's research, and there's net income. And those, you can see the bonuses of each of them if you mouse over it. It'll tell you like what factories are doing, what your population's doing, raw manufacturing, that kind of stuff. The littler ones on the right are all the kind of secondary things. So the amount of influence this civilization is pumping out, so that's your border that pushes out. Population max is what we were talking about. Like, you need people to work all your buildings, so the higher population increases all your manufacturing, research, and income. Food determines how many people you can have on the planet, because if you can't feed them, they can't be on the planet, and etc. Right? There's planetary defense, which that guy had none. So when I invaded him, it was a really high chance because. Honestly, I picked a tech path that kind of beeline straight for planetary invasion because I just wanted to kill somebody. So getting there quickly to do that is a little bit of a surprise, but usually people will have a defense to that later on.
All right, so I didn't want to derail for long, but I just wanted to grab a couple basics as we continue on with this. So I'm going to kind of be quiet again for a little bit and let you continue on with what's going on. So,
sure.
Cheers.
And it looks like we had Paul join us.
I'm technically here. I don't know if you can hear me.
I can hear you. How you doing, Paul?
Oh, okay. Did you guys hear me just rambling on to people, or?
No.
Okay. All right, good. Because I was like, am I connected? I don't know. Anyways, hello. Yes, I am here. I don't know if I can be of any assistance.
Oh, definitely. I think that
questions?
some of the this is kind of an interesting fight. I think that one of the things that people definitely want to know about, and just as a community background, Pulse, if you don't know, so me and Arvius and Filthy and a lot of others, we like to stream Civilization 5 as kind of online multiplayer. It's a little hardcore, but we play a lot.
Cool.
And this community in general has a lot of interest in general, looking at this game, seeing how it's going, and just to know where it's going to be going, right? So I think Adam was saying that maybe you can help fill us out of just like, roadmap? Like, what are your guys' plans with this? Of is there going to be a lot of like kind of DLCs, or is there going to be main focuses on different aspects of the game? Just love to hear your thoughts.
Well,
I mean,
we'll
you're the
have-
lead game designer, so this is your baby. We'd love to hear about it.
Yeah. Well, right now my brain is kind of fried, so I can't. I don't know how accurate. Oh, holy poop! Sorry, I'm playing the game. I just realized I don't have the range I need to invade a planet.
I've had those moments too. I've had a whole invasion force like 1 hex away from a planet, and I'm like, I can't go in.
I'm actually doing like some tests of the campaign missions just to make sure. Like I cranked up the I'm a winner to the difficulty to make sure that it's still beatable on insane and things like that. So anyways, I won, so I can shut up now. So yeah, well, we have a lot of little DLCs. I like to tell people that DLCs are going to end up being essentially fun enhancements, little things that aren't necessarily core game-changing things. We we want to like make a. I've mentioned this a million times, so I can talk about that. Is we want to make the Snathi a major race and give them a little campaign, but that it doesn't really change like the core mechanics of the game, so that would be a DLC. Maps, quests, events, things like that. Those will be DLCs, and then we're going to have at least. We'll have another expansion, a full-on expansion, which will continue the story. And we'll continue a bunch of and add more game mechanics, which will be the first the Crusade one, which will be about a year from now. And then we plan on doing at least 3 years out, and then DLC the entire time. So lots of stuff coming. Some of it simple, some of it very interesting. So
I might lose that, guys.
I'm looking forward to it.
Check that ship.
Very cool. We had a question out of the Stardock chat. This is going to be an advanced question, so I apologize to Filthy's chat, who are a little bit newer to the game, but that's okay. The Yor are our intelligent evil machines race, and they have a different growth mechanic than everybody else does, because they are built and not born. But he said, I am a Cerberus. Says that he thinks that he heard in a stream that the Yor synthetic mechanic was being reworked. Any more info on that? I find them a little confusing, and I'm not sure if I'm playing them right.
Well, it got a few polished pass a couple builds ago. Essentially, what they do is they can build their people as opposed to other races. So they don't even have growth anymore. So I guess yes, it did get reworked, but essentially what we did was we made it so you literally just go, I want to build 4 Yor, and you just do it like you're building a factory. And so that's an amazing
I'll let him live.
Amazing advantage. And the bad news is that you have to do it. You have to stop and do it, whereas everybody else is just growing constantly. So, but you'll see that it's really, I mean, in early game it can be a little bit of a challenge, and late game it's a huge advantage. So it was really hard to balance. They also don't need food. There are a couple improvements that will boost how much they can your population cap. There's like power plants that will do that, but you can only
overlap all 3.
put one on a planet, and you can get like a 10 extra or something like that. But if you just from text, you can get to like 40. But I think the theoretical limit is like 60. So you can literally fill each of your planets to 60 with only taking 1 tile. So that is, and it is a little awkward. Like you're playing your trading for farms is useless. Get any tile that gives a farm bonus is useless to you. All of the techs that give regular population bonuses are not worth trading for. So there is like some give and take, but to have that little advantage of just being able to go, I need high population, build me some people, is an amazing amazingly big buff. So
and it's also just
more or less
cool thematically, right?
Yeah.
I need to build more of us.
Where we really, I kind of went back and forth on leaving that in, because maybe which is what they heard about the reworking, is that it is a very different game mechanic and it can lead to confusion, but it's really interesting, and we like that. We like the fact that players then go, oh, hey, it's worth playing as the Yor because they're different. So that's fun.
Now I have a question in the chat. Somebody was asking about, are the ideologies balanced better than Gal Civ 2? Evil was always better, it seemed, in Gal Civ 2. Like, I've played a little bit with them, so I don't want to say too much to hamper your response, but I think that I think they're pretty balanced.
Who you ask.
Yeah.
We like to say, we have a saying in game design in general, or at least in Stardock, we like things to be equally broken. But each one of them, each one of the ideologies feels broken when you learn how to exploit it. And if the other players or don't take advantage of theirs, or if one of the things that we do let you do is you can go up multiple branches, but everything gets more expensive as you do it. So it's almost always better to just go out, just commit. But sometimes there'll be something so juicy in the other tree that you really want it, or you'll do something where it's like, I don't want this negative to approval because I chose, to stay benevolent. So screw it, I'm just going to go malevolent. You end up with a couple points. You buy one malevolent trait or whatever. But they're very powerful. I've heard every single one of them has been told me that they are broken and too powerful for the other. So I tend to prefer the neutral one, but there's some really cool stuff in the good one.
Yeah. No, I'm playing Benevolent in this one, and it's a lot of... I mean, I've done a lot of Benevolent games. I think that the one thing I've found strong about Benevolent is just that there are multiple buildings that are first tier that give you more points towards the ideology, so you can get more of the tree faster.
There are actually two of those. The same with Evil. So actually, Evil and Good give you those a little bit earlier, whereas Neutral gives you some other stuff that's more immediately, Pragmatic gives you something more immediately valuable, like the constructors or things like that. So it's kind of a balancing act. But like I said, I tend to really like Neutral, but every once in a while I'll put my good guy hat on and do. And rarely I'll do Malevolent. Sometimes when it's like in the campaign, I've been tending to test with some Malevolent choices just because
Thanks,
the essence of it is that you're kind of in a bad mood. So I was like, screw it. You guys should all die. Malevolent. And then when you get to, I got a free frigate for that. Maybe Malevolent's pretty cool. So.
Yeah, no, it looks like it's got some, one of the things is we're going to have to just see how it plays out when we do multiplayer, because some of them, like even the neutral side, how it plays a lot towards trading and the diplomacy side of things, like that seems, it's going to be hard to balance, right? Like from a multiplayer standpoint.
You guys really specialize in multiplayer, and we'll be really happy to see, how you guys like it. But, our goal was always to make sure that the multiplayer felt as much like the sandbox as possible. So.
Yeah, no, it's been fun messing around with this. I think that even just the trying out the different ideologies from I would say the one thing of this though, the ideologies you can kind of, it's a little bit hurtful on the newbies. I noticed this when Arvius was playing, that like trying to explain to them that it's so important that you probably want to get the first tenets that give you the points. Because if you don't do that and you're on a map like this, for example, you're not going to be expanding anywhere anytime soon.
Yeah, you run out
so
of
the events don't pop up and all that stuff.
Do you guys have any plans on making sequential, simultaneous turns rather for multiplayer?
It's not a trivial thing. So like I said, it's one of these things where we decided early on that that we wanted to keep it as close to sandbox as possible. So we let people plan per turn, but doing it simultaneously creates so many more race conditions and a lot of dynamics that literally then make the game a little bit of a Twitch game. So we really have to be careful with it. But I'm not gonna say never, but no, we don't have any current plans.
Yeah, and how does it exactly play out right now? Because I know that there's some, it's very different than Civ and how the multiplayer aspect works. Like, how does the turn mechanic work now in multiplayer?
Essentially, what you get is you play the game, you get your turn. Anything that is a direct movement thing, you can plan. You can actually, while the other person is moving, so you can actually set the destinations of all your ships. You can build improvements on your planets and everything, but nothing will actually move until you hit turn. So if you got people that are playing and they're in a good rhythm, you'll actually mostly be it will almost feel like simultaneous turns. You'll be just doing your thing. They'll go, you'll go, they'll go, you'll go, and just bang, bang, bang. But that's one of the reasons why we currently limit it to 4 players. Is once you get enough players, all it takes is one person to kind of
slow the whole thing.
Really know what they're doing, and they can slow it down, and everybody will literally have their entire strategy plan for that turn, and they'll be waiting on the one guy, and then he'll turn, and then you go 1, 2, 3, and then, but then there's this lag, and now everybody's. So we it's not ideal, but it works really well, and it keeps the mechanics as close to the sandbox as possible.
Gotcha. Now, is there like a limit to the amount of folks that you can have in multiplayer with all the AIs, or no?
I do not believe we limit. I think I just asked the other day because I had told somebody that we don't limit it. No, I told somebody that we did, and then I found out that we don't. So it's the same as the sandbox.
Okay, gotcha.
So you can have as many AIs as you want, pretty much.
Gotcha. Okay.
So, which is the way I prefer to play multiplayer, and I recommend people play multiplayer is as a co-op, against AI, because then you can literally be like you and me against the 100 races or 20 races and on a giant galaxy, and it can be really fun.
And even the AI, right, like was just improved yesterday or the patch before. It's like
matter of fact,
crazy strong.
One of the reasons why I'm retesting the campaign as we speak is that.
Quick question about how the AI is balanced.
Gets,
is it balanced based on just being good at the game with equal resources as you, or is it getting benefits to resources that you as players don't have based on the difficulty?
Sorry, let me finish what I was saying. One of the reasons I'm testing the campaign right now is because the AI has gotten really smart, and all of a sudden things that I had set up to be pretty easy to win became very hard to win. So now it's like I got to go through and make sure that I account for the fact that the AI will now kill you in places where before maybe it wasn't quite up to snuff. So that's been quite the AI is amazing how quickly it can get smarter. The AI on normal gets no advantages at all. On a lot of what actually, there's a couple little things we allow where essentially, but mostly what we're doing is as you go up in difficulty, we kind of take off. There's a lot of things. One of the weird things about AI is that you don't want it to be too smart, because then it either looks like it's cheating, or it's just too predictable because it knows I'm always going to do this smartest thing, right? So as we go up in difficulty, we actually kind of take off some of the gloves. We actually take off like things where there's a lot of randoms, like, I know I should build a factory. I know I should build a warship or whatever. I know I should go get a resource, but then there's like a random, or maybe I'll do this. So you kind of have those things on normal to kind of keep the AI feeling as
benevolent, as
human as possible.
Yeah.
And then as you go up, you kind of start removing those restrictions. You also you make it knows you can change. We have what are called AI strategy defs, which are the AIs, depending on your difficulty, have different plans that are actually kind of handcrafted by Brad, where it's like, okay, here's the best strategy to win via this in on genius. And whereas we won't give it those tried and true plans on normal. It won't really know, this is the best thing to do.
Yeah.
But then we also always throw in a lot of random, where it's like you may give him like, here's the way to go, and then the every once in a while it'll go, well, I should pick one between this and this, and so that's how you kind of keep it alive. And then also there's a lot of it comes down to the tech tree that it's using, the personality. If you've seen the custom faction thing, we have this whole personality thing. the AI will literally weight its decisions by those. So even though the AI might be programmed to be really smart this way, but if you make a custom AI and the most important thing to it is, money, it's not going to focus on warfare the way another race would, and therefore you'll end up with like he'll try and trade with you. He'll try this. He might try and go for a alliance victory, or they all will essentially pick a different type of victory based on these things. But as the difficulty gets harder, we kind of, like I said, push the priorities of certain things that make it a little more aggressive or a little more diplomatic or whatever. So there's all kinds of little levers we do, and then there's just literally just like, okay, give the AI more
bonus
access to the CPU, or let it plan things better, or we try not to just give bonuses because nobody likes that, and it's not really fun.
Now to Filthy's comment, so how do you, when you balance out the different aspects of the game, are you assuming that there's like a play field of balance, or is there a lot of RNG based on the researches that you see or the planet layout?
We try and keep it relatively balanced, but depending on the map is such a random factor. You never really. It's really hard to. It's hard to account for that. Just literally the races you pick to play with are a huge random factor. You're playing against a bunch of neutrals or a bunch of diplomatically, the game will go a completely different way. But really the biggest one is the map. Like I like to talk about how, depending on you play a giant map or an insane map or whatever, but you lower like the planet counts or something, it's completely different game, than it would be with the default settings. Or if you play in a tiny map with everything crowded, then everybody's going to be at each other's throat. It's like 5 seconds in the game. So those things are really hard to balance. Mostly we make sure that they're fun and that it feels good. That's the real secret sauce, is that sometimes the AI being too smart is actually not fun, and you have to kind of watch for that.
Oh, I should fix that.
That was the longest AI balancing answer I think I've ever heard in my life.
Well, that's just from me. I mean, this is mostly observation. I get to tweak the numbers a little, but Brad is really the AI guy. Brad and Alan spend all their time worried about this, and I just listen.
Now, how many, just in general, to maybe kind of switch gears a little bit, how big of a company is Stardock? And I know that some people know the history of the games from Galciv 2 and Sins of the Solar Empire and all that kind of stuff, but how big is the team for Galciv?
Well, I should know this off my head, but we've got... It comes and goes, because right now we actually pulled a couple people on, for the last poll. But the core team is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 developers, 3 artists, and myself, and sometimes 2 artists. And then, like I said, we every once in a while we'll get to grab another developer and bring them in, and for help on something. But then, of course, there's marketing and of course Brad. Well, I guess Brad would be one of the 6 developers. Maybe he's the 7th. So yeah, we're not a huge team, but what we did do is spend 3 years making the game, so that makes up for a lot. Yeah.
Now, also, in retrospect to that, like from a standpoint, how often do you guys plan on trying to do releases or DLCs?
Right now, we actually I'm
out of movement.
The plans is to try and do
I'm actually hearing some weird technical issues with the stream right now. I'm having a hard time telling when people are talking. Like in TeamSpeak, like I'm not seeing anyone except Slipping actually light up when they're talking, so I'm having a really hard time with the delay in the stream not interrupting. Do we have a quick fix for that? Do you know what's going on with that?
I don't know. So are you saying that the people on the stream are not able to hear Adam and Paul?
No, it's that to interject questions without interrupting requires that I hear them in real time, and I should be hearing them in real time when they're answering on TeamSpeak, but I'm only hearing them on your stream and not in TeamSpeak at all. I hear you fine on TeamSpeak, but not on not them. Okay, are you still hearing both of them in TeamSpeak?
I am, but I'm gonna see why that might be an issue. Give me one second.
Yeah, that's really weird. That's really weird. Like I see the light up on TeamSpeak and everything's in real time on TeamSpeak on my end as well.
I hear you talking now. Could I get a? Hold on, let's try calling in.
Technical difficulties. Live debugging.
Yep. Sorry about that. It seems to be okay now. That's working fine. But before I couldn't figure out how to interject without interrupting because of the theme delay. Sorry about that.
Gotcha. No, that's good.
I was kind of wondering about that. I was like, wow, not a lot of people just like jump in and like talk all over Paul when he's in the middle of talking. But all right.
No, that's not intentional.
Maybe they should though.
Very much not intentional.
I do have a tendency to go on a rant. I forget what we were saying, but there was we like I said earlier, currently we have plans to try and do one a DLC maybe every month or two, and then a expansion once a year for at least the next 3 years.
Very cool. And how fast is it turnaround for just like the patches, not like full DLCs or that kind of stuff? You know, or go for it.
Oh, sorry. The patches really depend on what the requirements are and what the situation is. So, like we already have a planned 1.1 that'll probably be about a month after release. And hopefully most of that will actually not be bug fixes because there are no bugs. And then, but we want to start enabling all the modding stuff and getting the Steam Workshop stuff working and all that fun stuff like that.
Okay.
Because we're really excited to get modders diving in.
Yeah, because I had the main reason I was asking because I know that in the obviously the beta there's been quite fast turnaround of like when new releases and such come out. So I just wonder if the Steam's going to keep going on that on the after release.
Well, I would suspect that patches will probably be, unless something bad comes out, monthly-ish, and then we'll as we do DLC, those will probably come, be released with patches. Like the patch will come out, and then the DLC will,
So he's shield.
You won't have to buy the DLC, but at the same time, as we add features, we'll make sure that it patches in and all works. And a lot of little enhancements will kind of come in those things that aren't worthy of DLC or are just things that would be nice that we didn't have time to do, stuff like that.
Well, that's good. Yeah, because in general, like kind of near release time, we're hoping to get started with the multiplayer aspect. And if we find, I know that last night there was like a big fix for like desyncing in multiplayer and that kind of stuff.
Tell me about it.
Yeah, so I'm assuming hopefully like those kind of critical ones go out quick.
Yeah, no, certainly if anything critical comes up, we will be patching it as quickly as possible. But we don't have like a service pack for that, for a antiquated term, name planned until about a month out.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Well, in this game, I've just been kind of, after I killed my neighbor, I've been slowly kind of coming to grips of getting some economy going, and I needed money and setting up a starbase farm. Somebody seems to have picked a war with me, the Dringen, as they always do.
They are a bit aggressive.
Just a tad. Oh, you know what? There was a question. Somebody asked it in chat. They wanted to know. They noticed that in multiplayer, the custom races had been disabled. Was there a reason for that, balance-wise, or is it just because fixes?
I think that it's mostly it's making sure that multiplayer is stable. I mean, is doesn't have problems, and we'll kind of turn it back on as we make sure that it's secure. Because, like I said, we're running into those desyncs. A lot of those were because of of custom races.
Yeah, because it does seem a little bit that the custom races are incredibly strong in certain ways, right? Like it doesn't seem like there's a a limit on the amount of like negative points that you can take in certain areas, so you can just kind of destroy your ability to do, you know, income or, you know, influence, that kind of stuff, and just go crazy on the war, you know, that kind of stuff.
It is a little safer to just disable them and a little, maybe a little more balanced. We'd like to get them working. What we might do is give the players an option to not allow custom factions in multiplayer, and that way, if you're worried about that, or for you, and that way, as we, you know, make sure that things are balanced, you can feel like confident that you're not, you know, gonna get screwed by somebody who came up with just the right combination of race traits. So,
great. Another multiplayer question for you, if you have a quick second about that.
Yeah, go for it.
So I know that this is clearly designed, you know, not primarily necessarily, but first as a single player game. You're not probably too worried about the overall time for a game of that single player, because you can save and load and come back to it when you have the time to finish the game. Do you have a sense of how long it takes for multiplayer games in this? For like, for example, like a 4-player multiplayer map. Clearly, it's going to be very, very highly variable, but just roughly.
I would say it depends on the size of the map. If you want to play like a little tournament map, you're, you know, maybe a couple hours, you know, an hour. I assume like some like pros could probably do in a half hour, but I'd say you're probably looking at least an hour for a real game.
Okay.
Yeah, but I would love to see. I've seen a couple people play these big co-op, you know, ones that take, you know, multiple days, and that's actually right up my alley. So I get excited about that.
One of the other things that we're doing too is, I noticed Brad was checking in some handmade multiplayer maps that are more balanced, because the RNG can be really impactful before the game even starts.
We win.
And so getting in those balanced multiplayer maps is something that we got to do too.
And we'll probably add more maps as we move along, because mostly it's, you know, we want for the really in sandbox, what you really want is random usually. So the multiplayer maps are the only ones where
I just heard, guys, we're going to do a giveaway soon.
Symmetry and stuff like that. So we want to make sure there's a couple of those for our players on different scales.
Nice. If people have not been paying attention, I was just about to give away an Elite Founder key in the Slipping Sand chat. So you should click on over to that. If you are interested, I'm going to drop the keyword in the chat in a second, and then I'm going to roll it in a couple of minutes.
Now, actually, here's a good question for you. I, you know, got into GalCiv, what was it, in like November or something like that, like quite a while ago. Were all those considered Founder keys?
The Founders Elites are, I think, what he's talking about, and those were only before we went on Steam, and I believe before the alpha.
Gotcha.
Is that correct, Adam?
No, we kept selling Founder Elite on Steam for the first like couple months. If you remember, everybody on Steam was really mad at us that we were charging $99 for the game because
we turned it off. Yeah,
right, because they didn't actually read the description of that. This is all the DLC and expansions forever for this game. All they saw was $99 and freaked out.
As people do.
Yeah, that was really fun. But so we did sell